If you've ever clicked Add to Cart on a sleek UPS listing, only to set it up and discover the outlets are barely enough for your essential gear, you know the frustration. It feels like the product photos are telling one story while the real-world experience is something else entirely. I've spent the last few weeks digging into the online double conversion UPS market, reading forums, watching troubleshooting videos, and even asking a few IT pros what they wish they'd known before they bought. The goal here is to make sure you don't waste money on a unit that looks perfect on paper but falls short when you actually need it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the EATON 9SX 1500VA 1350W 208V model, a unit that promises reliable double conversion power, 6 C13 outlets, and enough juice to keep a small server rack humming during an outage. The first question most buyers have is, will this protect my equipment without breaking the bank? The answer isn't as simple as reading the spec sheet. It depends on your load profile, how long you expect a blackout to last, and what kind of redundancy you actually need. The 9SX is built for a niche that sits between the home office and a full-scale data center. If you run a handful of workstations, a network switch, maybe a UP-supported NAS, this unit can be a solid guardrail. At full load 1500VA or 1350W, EATON claims about 56 minutes of battery runtime. In practice, that translates to roughly 3,045 seconds per 10% of load reduction. So if you're pulling 800W during normal operation, you could expect around 3 to 4 minutes of backup. That's enough time to gracefully shut down servers, close open files, or switch to a secondary power source. It isn't a long-duration solution for a whole building, but it's not meant to be. One of the strengths that shows up repeatedly in real-world deployments is the true online double conversion architecture. Unlike line interactive models that switch to battery only when voltage dips, the 9SX runs the incoming AC through an inverter, then back through a rectifier, delivering a perfectly conditioned sine wave at all times. For sensitive equipment, think video editing rigs, virtualization hosts, or medical imaging workstations. This constant regulation can prevent subtle data corruption that often goes unnoticed until it becomes a costly problem. Users in a small design studio reported that their workstation never hiccuped during a 30-second brownout, thanks to the uninterrupted power supply. However, no product is without trade-offs. The 6 C13 outlets sound generous until you count the power cord sizes on a typical office rack. Each C13 outlet can handle up to 10A at 120V, so you quickly run into the combined amperage ceiling if you're plugging in a monitor, a router, a UPS-powered switch, and a desktop that already draws close to 10A on its own. The result is that you may have to prioritize which devices truly need battery backup versus those that can survive a brief outage on their own. In a nutshell, the 9SX is great for protecting core gear, but you'll likely need a separate surge strip for peripheral equipment. Another practical consideration is the physical footprint. The unit is a full-height rack mount, measuring roughly 44 centimeters tall. It fits standard 42U racks, but you'll need to leave a little breathing room for ventilation. EATON designed it with hot swap battery modules, which is a big plus if you plan to service the batteries without shutting down the UPS. In a small server closet, you'll still need to account for a couple of inches of clearance on the front and back to keep airflow optimal. Forgetting this can lead to the UPS's internal temperature climbing, triggering alarms and reducing battery life. So, before you shelve the 9SX, measure that rack space and verify you have the clearance. Who should buy this? If you're a small business owner, a freelance video editor, or a tech-savvy homeowner who runs a home lab with a modest amount of critical gear, this UPS hits the sweet spot. Its double conversion design gives you the cleanest power possible, and the 1500VA capacity is enough to cover a typical workstation setup plus networking gear. It also appeals to IT professionals who need an affordable entry point into online UPS technology without stepping up to the 5 kVA range. Who should skip it? If you're looking to protect an entire server room, a high-density blade environment, or any setup that regularly draws more than 1 kilowatt, you'll quickly outgrow the 9SX. The runtime at full load is short, and the 6 outlets will become a bottleneck as you add more equipment. Likewise, if you need a UPS that can sustain a long outage, say, you live in an area prone to grid failures lasting 30 minutes or more, you'll want a unit with a larger battery bank or the ability to chain additional external batteries. On the downside, the unit's silent mode fan is a trade-off you may notice in a quiet office. When the temperature rises, the fan steps up to maintain cooling, and the noise can become audible. For most users it's a minor annoyance, but if you have a noise-sensitive environment, you